I gave my parents over $40,000 when they needed help, but they left me out of the will and gave everything to my brother. I stopped paying and watched their world unravel in silence. My parents erased me from their will after I paid their bills for 3 straight years. So I canceled every payment and flew to Thailand while their lights got cut off. What happened next shocked everyone and changed our family forever. I'm 35 now. My name's Rachel Grant. I grew up in Maple Ridge, a quiet upper-middle-class suburb outside Denver. Think picket fences, PDA bake sales, and neighbors who remember your dog's birthday, but forget your name. My dad, Gerald, is 63 and spent his career as an electrical engineer. Mom, Diane, 61, used to work part-time as a school secretary. They always presented as the picture-perfect American dream. And honestly, for a while, I believed it. I have 2 siblings, Adam, 37, and Lindsay, 32. Adam's always been the prodigy. He went to Northwestern with Dad's full financial support, landed a gig at some Silicon Valley startup with a name that sounds like a skincare brand, Olivia, and now lives in a penthouse in Austin. He sends cryptic tweets about disrupting industries and always has a model girlfriend named something like Sky or Nova. Meanwhile, Lindsay works in interior design and lives a couple of states away, mostly off the radar. Me? I've always been the responsible one. Honor roll. State college. Degree in biopharma research. No drama. Just bills paid on time and a healthy relationship with Excel spreadsheets. It doesn't scream glamorous, but it's a good life. Or it was. Until I found out that I, the one who never missed a payment, was officially deleted from my parents' future plans. We're not a sentimental bunch. Our Thanksgiving tradition mostly involves passive-aggressive debates about lifestyle choices over a turkey so dry it could file for bankruptcy. But I genuinely thought we had each other's backs when it mattered. I never expected betrayal would come quietly, buried in a manila folder labeled Final Will, 2023. It started when my dad had a minor heart scare 3 years ago. Nothing critical, but enough to land him in the hospital. I took time off work to help. Did all the grown-up things, insurance, prescriptions, food runs. Adam sent a $60 fruit basket and called during a Peloton session. That was the first of many signs. Mom and Dad started asking for help with bills. At first, it was little things. A water bill here. A plumbing issue there. Just temporary. But temporary turned permanent. I found myself footing their cable, roof repairs, even a kitchen remodel that went from just the countertops to a full-blown HGTV fantasy. I was bleeding $1,200 a month, quietly funding their comfort while pinching pennies and meal prepping sad chicken and rice bowls for myself. Still, I did it. I thought it was love. I thought it was family. I thought wrong. 6 months ago, Mom invited me to a family financial planning Zoom. I showed up early, hair done, notes prepped, hoping, praying, they'd finally acknowledge what I'd been doing. But instead, I watched as Adam ran the show like a TED Talk host. Slide after slide of investment pie charts, retirement plans, estate talk, and not a single mention of me. I was a digital houseplant in the corner of the screen. Actually, no. A houseplant would have gotten watered. And then, mid-call, Mom casually chimed in. "Oh, Rachel, the property tax bill's coming up again. Can you take care of that, sweetheart? You've always been so reliable." That was my role. Reliable. Silent. Invisible. A human ATM with no inheritance and no explanation. A few weeks later, I found it, the will, tucked away in their home office while I was searching for a receipt. Amended just 3 months before. Every cent, every asset, every record, necklace, and even the family dog, all going to Adam. Not even a coffee mug with my name on it. There was a note attached. Adam has shown exceptional financial wisdom. He is best suited to carry on the family legacy. And me? Nothing. Not a single sentence. No explanation. Not even a damn photo album. They took my money for 3 years, but couldn't even spare a sentence in their will. That was the moment everything changed. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stopped. Stopped sending money. Stopped answering texts. Stopped lighting myself on fire to keep them warm. 3 months later, I watched from my car as the utility company turned off their power. And I felt nothing. I thought finding out I was erased from there would be the final blow. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. The real reason they left me out? Let's just say I was funding more than just their property taxes. After the will discovery, I did something I hadn't done in years. I stopped reacting. No phone calls. No transfers. No reminders to myself to be the bigger person. I just went quiet. If I was no longer a daughter in their eyes, why keep playing the role? At first, I thought they'd notice. That mom would text, "Hey, are you okay?" Or that dad would call and ask if I was swamped at work. Instead, I got a message that read, "Cable's overdue again. Can you sort it by Friday?" Followed by a winking emoji. Like this was all just cute. I waited. 1 week. 2. Nothing changed, except the tone. Their messages got snappier. Less please, more expectation. "Rachel, the roof leak hasn't been fixed yet." The HOA's threatening fines. "Don't forget the quarterly taxes." Like I was an accountant they forgot to pay. But here's the thing. I was paying attention now. And when you stop moving so fast, you start to see things. For instance, why was Adam getting mortgage letters at their address? Why had Dad mentioned meeting with Adam's financial advisor? Why did Mom suddenly need help downloading an app that lets Adam see our accounts in case of emergencies? Oh, that's when it hit me. I wasn't just being ignored. I was being replaced. One weekend, I dropped by with homemade cookies. Because apparently I still believed that kindness would earn me a seat at the table. The house was empty, but Adam's car was in the driveway. That's weird, I thought. Then I heard his voice in the office. "We just need to finalize the transfer. Once the house is in the trust." I froze. "Transfer? House?" He looked up. Our eyes met. That startled blink, the kind people do when they've been caught mid-con. "Hey sis," he said, cool as a cucumber. "Just organizing some papers for Dad. You know, estate stuff." "Yeah, I knew." I nodded. "Need help?" He laughed. "Too fast." "Nah, got it covered." "Of course you do." Something in me cracked open. Like watching a magician fumble and realizing the rabbit was always fake. This wasn't about trust. This wasn't about them believing Adam was more financially savvy. This was a plan. A long, well-rehearsed plan. And then came the moment that cemented everything. A month later, I helped Mom sort paperwork and stumbled upon a document in a folder marked private. I didn't want to look, but I had to look. Inside was a ledger. Not of their expenses. Of mine. Each month I'd helped. Each deposit. Each utility covered. And then, at the bottom, a line scribbled in Dad's handwriting. "Rachel, support. Consider annual gift classification." They had tracked my money. Counted it. Categorized it. But couldn't give me a photo in the will. Not even a mug. I was an investment to them. A tax advantage. I drove home that night in silence. No music. No tears. Just a numb hum in my chest. But I wasn't done yet. If Adam was taking over the finances, maybe I could find out how far he'd gone. So I started digging. Quietly. Carefully. And what I found would change everything. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my living room surrounded by receipts, account statements, and a notebook filled with everything I could remember. Every payment I'd made. Every time they said just this once. I wrote it all down like I was preparing for a trial. Because in a way I was. The next morning, I requested a credit report from my parents. I'd set up their online access years ago when they first claimed they couldn't figure out that confusing internet stuff. Turns out, they weren't too confused to authorize Adam as a secondary on everything. Their accounts, their assets, their house. He wasn't just helping. He was transferring. My parents were giving him the house, in full, while I was still paying the property taxes on it. I felt like a fool. A damn fool. I closed the browser and stared at the wall for a long time. That's when it hit me. This wasn't the first time they made me invisible. Not even close. I was 10 the day I realized I didn't exist the same way Adam did. It was his 12th birthday. My mom threw a huge party, custom cake, magician, catered lunch. Everyone from his school came. I helped set up, hung the streamers, even filled the goodie bags. My birthday was 3 weeks later. I got a card. Just a card. No cake. No dinner. No guests. Mom said we were scaling back this year because of Adam's basketball tournament. But I didn't cry. I remember that clearly. I sat on the back porch with the card in my lap, holding it like it was something sacred. Inside, she'd written, "To my responsible girl." That was always my title, wasn't it? Responsible. Reliable. Practical. Invisible. That memory felt like a thunderclap now. They'd always seen me as someone useful, but never as someone loved. So when they erased me from the will, it wasn't a betrayal. It was just confirmation. I wasn't in the family portrait. I was holding the camera. But that's not all. Later that week, I got an alert on one of my credit cards. the one I'd used for my parents' HOA dues. The balance had jumped. $1,200 in charges to a home improvement store and a tech vendor. I hadn't used that card in 6 months. I'd forgotten to remove it from an auto payment form I'd submitted on their behalf. I checked the merchant logs. A flat-screen TV. A wine fridge. Smart light installation. Just trying to make the house more appealing, Mom said when I called. Appealing for what? I asked, already knowing. For when Adam moves in full-time, she answered. As if I should have known. As if it were obvious. As if it didn't matter. They weren't even pretending anymore. I was funding the transition and watching from the sidelines as they handed over everything to someone who hadn't spent a dime on them. I hung up without another word. Later that night, I went to my closet and pulled out an old box. Inside were keepsakes I hadn't touched in years. A birthday card from my 14th year, signed, from Mom and Dad and Adam. A crooked necklace I'd made in art class that Mom said she couldn't wear because of a nickel allergy. A graduation photo. I was smiling alone, while they were in Chicago celebrating Adam's internship. The signs had been there all along. I just hadn't wanted to see them. But now I couldn't look away. They wanted Adam to be the heir. Fine. They'd get him. And only him. Because I was done playing the role of the helper while they handed the kingdom to the golden child. But I had one last card to play. And it was a good one. I knew the electric company would cut the power around noon. I'd called and canceled the auto payments weeks ago, meticulously unwinding every connection I had to their utilities. I'd warned no one, but I made sure I had a clear view. I parked across the street with a coffee and watched the van pull up. The technician in a reflective vest walked to the side of the house, clipboard in hand. I didn't blink. A few minutes later, it happened. The porch light flickered, then died. The hum of the HVAC unit cut off. The house fell still, quiet in a way that felt unnatural. And then the door opened. My dad stumbled out first, squinting in the daylight, phone in hand. My mom followed, head down, muttering something, trying to get her own phone to work. Probably texting me. Probably blaming me. Adam's car wasn't there. Of course it wasn't. For the first time in years, they were completely, physically in the dark. And I felt nothing. Not pity. Not guilt. Just a strange, profound calm. They hadn't called to say they understood. They hadn't tried to make it right. They just kept demanding. And now the bills were due, literally and emotionally. I stayed for 20 minutes, long enough to watch them shuffle back inside. Mom sat on the porch step like she used to when we were little, waiting for the school bus with Adam. But this time, no one was coming. That night, I didn't answer their 37 calls. I didn't listen to the voicemails, though I saw Dad's transcribed text. This is elder abuse. You could have killed us. Killed them? They were more alive now than they'd ever been. Waking up to a world where the daughter they'd used wasn't playing her part anymore. But the real twist came 3 days later. 3 full days of silence. No electricity, no cable, no AC. Then I drove by again. The lights were back on. Adam had caved. It took 3 days, but he finally paid. The irony was rich. The financial expert couldn't cough up a utility bill until his parents were sweating in the dark. The same guy who hosted Zoom calls about retirement portfolios and wealth redistribution had left them powerless until he could be bothered. I heard from a mutual friend that the scene was a mess. Yelling, finger-pointing, Mom crying, Dad swearing, Adam defensive. But none of them called me. Until the letter arrived. It was in Mom's handwriting. She hates writing. Has complained about it since I was 5. She even whined when signing my permission slips. So this was serious. I opened it slowly, expecting anger or guilt. Instead, it was something worse, justification. They didn't mean to exclude me, she wrote. I was the strong one. I'd never cared much for material things. They assumed I'd understand. That I was the rock they leaned on, while Adam was the one they had to support in other ways. Support? He got the house. I got a compliment. The final line hit me hardest. We always trusted you to do what was right. We never expected this. That's what hurt the most. They hadn't just trusted me to help. They trusted me to never say no. To always sacrifice. To always endure. To be a second-class family member with first-class responsibilities. But not anymore. So I sent no reply. Instead, I framed the letter. Hung it in my kitchen. Not as a keepsake, but as a boundary. This was my line. My turning point. My moment of clarity, illuminated not by forgiveness, but by the flicker of the lights going out. They thought they'd raised a reliable daughter. What they really raised was a woman with limits. And I had finally reached mine. I didn't reply to the letter. Not out of cruelty. Not even out of anger. But because I'd already said everything I needed to say by saying nothing. By the time I read my mother's confused, half-apology letter, I had already pulled every wire connecting me to their lives. I was no longer paying their HOA dues. No longer listed on their accounts. The automatic transfers had stopped, the quiet withdrawals from my bank account now replaced with deposits, to myself. And something strange happened during that process. I started living. I joined a gym, not the cheap one with broken treadmills, but the one with eucalyptus towels and lighting so flattering it makes your shadow look like it's in shape. I booked a massage. I got my hair done at a salon that didn't double as a pet groomer. I bought sheets with a thread count that whispered forgiveness every time I lay down. And then I bought a plane ticket. Thailand. The dream trip. The one I always said I couldn't afford because someone else always needed the money more. I flew out 2 weeks after the power cut incident. Just me, a carry-on, and the reckless thrill of not asking for permission. It was in Chiang Mai, after a day feeding elephants and being emotionally dismantled by a Buddhist monk's quiet wisdom, that I got the final call. It was Adam. His voice was subdued, brittle. Ratch. I didn't know. I swear. I didn't know you were paying that much. I was sitting in a hammock, the sun setting in streaks of orange and lavender. I didn't even sit up. You didn't ask. There was a pause. They made it sound like you were just helping here and there. They? I laughed. You mean the people who tracked every dollar I gave and called me the responsible one when they wanted more? He sighed. They're different now. Quiet. Weird. Mom's barely speaking. Dad's still mad, but mostly at me now. I didn't say anything. Let the wind fill the silence. They want you back, he added. I'm sure they do. The power's on now. No. I mean, they're talking about changing the will. I blinked. They said they're meeting with the lawyer next week. For a second, my chest tightened. Not with hope, but with clarity. They want to fix it, Adam said, almost pleading. But I just shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. I don't. What? I don't want to be in the will. Another pause. Are you serious? Yeah, I said, standing to watch the last sliver of sun vanish behind the mountains. Because I know what it costs now, and I'm done paying. Click. I ended the call before I could second-guess it. And that's when I knew the money I'd lost wasn't the real cost. It was time. It was trust. It was dignity. And I had reclaimed all of it. Since then, I've only heard from them through short, awkward texts. Mom still sends passive-aggressive emojis. Dad once emailed me an article about forgiving your children. Adam keeps trying to arrange family dinners. But me? I send postcards. From Bali. From Japan. From Greece. Each one signed. Rachel. The responsible one. P.S. Thanks for the will-shaped wake-up call.